Just want to say welcome back and sit back, grab a drink, grab a smoke,
and enjoy the ride.
enjoy yourself.
Cheers. You know we got the pina coladas.
What we got today?
We got a nice Malibu rum with pina colada mix.
I like it. I feel like I'm on an island,
Tasty.
but guess what? We're on a peninsula.
Welcome back to episode 2 of the Stop Lookin podcast.
Welcome back, boys.
It's your
and
host
girls.
Bogo and
Bernie. You
coming
already know.
in loud and live from Miami, Florida, telling you guys stories about how Stop Lookin became Stop Lookin.
It is hot today. Oh my god. It's like 95 degrees. It's like noon right now. Literally 12:02 p.m. April 23rd. Man, it's hot. You see the sweat dripping down my neck. You know it'd be like that though.
You know how it is with global warming. April's already like midsummer.
Oh my god. What's June or July gonna feel like? Like, don't even forget about August.
What about summer in like 6 years?
Oh my god.
So once again, for those of you that don't know, didn't see the first episode, this podcast is basically our stories from how we grew our brand to stuff like from our lives that we think could be interesting for you guys to listen to and maybe learn a little, maybe laugh a little. You know, we're having
Just get
fun in the
entertained out
sun.
here, you know? We're here to entertain during times of quarantine.
So today we're gonna talk about basically like how our lives have been operating for the past 2 years, running a business from 2 different cities, completely not only far away but completely different cities, New York City and Bloomington, Indiana, completely different.
So for those of you who don't know, we're still in college. We're about to be going into the final year after this summer. So that's pretty cool. So we're almost done with this, and then we can really take all of our energy and pour it into this brand, you know, because we do it all right now. We got school, we got to be a student first, you know, and then we got to do our brand second.
It's tough. Not only college, but just like adapting to living alone. Like we lived at home and then
Right.
now we live.
It's a whole transition within a transition within a transition. So
It's like transitionception. Transception.
But, you know, we're almost out of the whole...
Transception.
We're almost out of this whole wormhole, so...
I mean, you know, with this whole quarantine, we could be stuck in this position where we're next to each other for a while. So
Yeah.
we might actually be able to capitalize on that. We'll talk about that in a further podcast. Because
Stop
right
looking
now,
headquarters.
we're still talking about basically what happened after our launch, which was going into our second year of college. So we're gonna talk about living in 2 cities, operations wise, and then we're also gonna go take our first little dwindlings in entertainment production, and how we got involved in that, and where we're going.
You know, what we want to cover today in this podcast is basically what we were observing living in 2 completely yet similar areas. And I say similar in terms of like the demographics, you know, very diverse. You know, people from everywhere in the country, people from across the globe. And, you know, college towns can be super diverse despite that they may be in the middle of a...
But nowhere.
Of nowhere. Similar to like Bloomington, Indiana, you know?
It's fine. That's what Kanye does and John Mayer. They just go into like the middle of buttfuck nowhere and like get inspired, which is what you do.
Yeah, you know, I enjoy it. It's like an escape, but you know, I can be productive, so it's pretty cool. And you know, inside Bloomington, the college town, there's people from literally everywhere. You know, I have friends from West Coast, East Coast, South, North, everywhere, Midwest, China, Asia, Russia.
Asia is India
on.
and China.
Yeah. But you got my gist. So we want to like explore the topic, and you know, just like New York, give a little background about your people that you surround yourself at school. And you know.
I go to Stern Business School, so on top of being in New York City, like arguably the most fast-paced city in the U.S., maybe close to the fastest in the globe. People really don't want to listen to you. Like, you really have to stand out to like get attention because there's so much competition and everyone's on their own track that like no one really cares what I'm doing, like, because everyone's in a business mentality, business school. Like, they're focused on their careers, and buying a hoodie from me or getting involved with me like isn't really appealing. So it was really hard to first break into like my friends even. But
So explain a little bit about that. How New York City, Manhattan, particularly, is so like driven and independently driven and so high paced living. How do you think that has negative effects to like entrepreneurs like us who are trying to start new projects and are trying to put people on to something
Yeah.
new? How do you think that affects?
well, you know the saying how it goes, if you can make it in New York City, you can make it anywhere. So definitely I think if you're an entrepreneur going to New York City as your main market that you're trying to capture, the challenges are going to be like definitely way out of proportion. Like, if we're talking in Bloomington, Bernie, and the brand Stop Lookin is basically known throughout the entire town. Like, we have a real presence in a community that's well defined, whereas in New York City,
it's so big
it's
and
so
vast.
diverse and packed and different that getting really like that notoriety as a really small brand like we are is nearly not, I'm not gonna say impossible, but it's proven to be really difficult. So I'm saying if you're willing for a challenge, go for New York and know that if you make it there, you're set, and if you don't, you learned a hell of a lot and you definitely grew and became a better entrepreneur. New York City is just, it's the jungle.
It's really a huge place, yet the smallest place physically. It's crazy, and it's a great thing. It's a cool thing to think about. It's eye opening to think about how different markets work, and how access works, depending on where you are, and how accessible other people can be and how inaccessible other people can be, even though they are right in front of your face. It's just something really interesting that we learned through our very contrasting lifestyle and experience that we have been living.
We used to live the exact same lifestyle almost in Miami throughout high school, and then we split up and went to like 40,000 population farming small town in Indiana to 12 million people condensed in like
a tiny island.
a tiny, Manhattan. I mean, we started noticing more the differences with some of our drops, especially understanding like how some drops appealed way more to Bernie's customer bases and some drops appealed way more to my customer bases.
Yeah, so it's, we don't really have a specific point to make here besides the point that different products appeal to different geographical areas in a way, and different
mentalities even,
different
mindsets.
lifestyles and daily life, and just different societies, just to say the least, and how people perception of other people and all this other stuff. So like, we've had drops where BOGO will sell most of it to people in New York City, and I will sell the minority of it because it didn't appeal as much to people in Bloomington and Indiana University, the people that I have access to. But New York people in Manhattan, people that go to NYU absolutely loved it and bought the majority of it.
So another great thing about being in two different places is that, well, we kind of are making it seem like it's a challenge, which it is a definite challenge, but with every challenge comes a lot of pros. Like, we're living in different places, which allows us to get market research on two different markets. We're able to make connections in two different markets, which I don't know how, like, the network effects, how familiar you guys are with that, but that's definitely played like a major role in the growth of our, not only our social media presence, but our sales and our following in general, because we spread out to college, and so did all of our friends from high school, and us staying in contact with them and them buying clothing to begin with, because obviously first people to support you are usually your friends, and the network effects just being exponential like that. That's definitely a pro of being in two different cities.
Yeah, I was also going to say that I think a really strong and valid reason that we've been able to be so successful and we've been able to sell out continuously throughout the past 2 years on pretty much everything we drop, and how we're able to sell out so quickly on pre-sales at times, is because we really listen to our friends and we really listen to the people that we're trying to get our product into the hands of. So we take as much feedback as we can from our customers and from people who follow our brand, and literally we're always asking for feedback, because at the end of the day we're trying to make a product that people will like. So it's really important to us that we're always keeping the ear out and listening to what people have to say. And I love getting feedback. We love getting feedback on drops, and we like asking you what you want to see in the future, and we really work to bring that to the table, because it's really important to connect with our audience and create a product that they
really identify with, like they can feel like they were even part of the process.
Right.
But yeah, and definitely another pro to the network effects is that, I mean, in New York City, a little bit of good networking can go a really long way. For example, old friend from school who was older than us, our good friend Carlos Dose, shout out Silos D, shout out Silos D, Dose Productions. My good friend Carlos, he was an acquaintance in high school, and then I, through New York networks, happened to find out that he was a Tisch student, which is the film school at NYU. He was older, so he was working on really bigger projects with real budgets, in like film production, music video production. And we as we mentioned in our last podcast, our first event had live music, and we've always been interested in the music industry and entertainment in general.
Right.
So now that me and Bernie had a brand, we had clothing, we had our first drop from summer that we were talking about from last podcast. Link below, by the way, on the last podcast.
We could actually just link it somewhere here. We'll link it in the YouTube, maybe right here above my head.
Maybe right here though. Another good thing about having the network effects, especially in New York City, where a little bit of networking can go a long way. I had met through like the NYU community and like knowing him from before, like a little bit.
I also knew Carlos in high school. We did a little film production together, and then
we kind of lost touch.
Lost our touch, but then rekindled.
Yeah. So many years later, as a sophomore, right after our summer drop, my friend Carlos starts interning at The Orchard, which is the U.S.'s largest independent distributor of music and film, who actually was acquired by Sony a couple years ago, 4 years ago maybe. And we were talking, having fun, and he mentioned that he was actually directing and looking for a producer for a music video for The Orchard, actually, that The Orchard had just signed. The Orchard had just signed an artist named Tally Bands.
Shout out Tally Bands.
Shout out Tally. And basically Carlos is like, look, there's this opportunity. You guys would have to put up some money, and you guys could have production credits. And
have your clothing in the video.
Well, that's not how it was at first. First, he was asking if we wanted to just throw money and have our brand be like producer on it, and like find the location and try to like produce with Carlos. And then we realized it would be a great idea and opportunity to insert our clothing into the music video. So it was basically like a brand partnership pitch to The Orchard, where we would pay money to have our clothing in the music video as well as produce it, and have our name at the end of the video as a producer.
Right.
And we thought it was a great leeway to get credibility and like
establish a relationship with an independent label that was focusing on breaking in new artists and stuff. That was something that we really our goals were aligned with, and we wanted to be a part of anything that had to do with music, artists, production, entertainment. So we took this opportunity to create the music video and produce a music video with our clothing in it, and just be able to incorporate our
Vision.
our work of clothing into a work of music and video, and just fuse everything together and create a really cool product, which actually this video has now over like 1 million views on YouTube, so that's pretty
Let's
cool.
check. Let's check how much it has right now. Let me check.
And
But
I mean,
yeah.
for the first video we ever produced, 1 million views was pretty crazy for us, and
It definitely gave us a lot of credibility for our next opportunities that came along. When we would pitch our brand, we would definitely use
show-
this.
Yeah. So if you want to go see the video right now, you can pause this video, and we'll link it somewhere here also with the YouTube in link stuff. So don't even worry, we'll include that over here. And how many views does it have?
It has like 1 million and something. Like not. It just says 1M.
But yeah, that was the first time that we were ever able to get an official, credibility stamp to our name in the music.
Shout out Carlos. Shout out the Orchard.
Shout out Sony Orchard. So I flew out one weekend from Indiana to New York City to when we had our meeting with the Orchard, and I think we should talk a little bit about our experience and how we were able to go to the offices in Manhattan and meet some of the people working there and be able to give a pitch to the
Head of music videos of Orchard, I think it was.
yeah, we were in like a really cool office that had like Migos, Bad and Bougie plaques in it, and we'll put a photo.
Like the platinum
we'll
plaques.
Put a photo here. I took a photo of that. Had a bunch of cool plaques of some really dope songs and albums that the Orchard had worked on. So that was really awesome. This was the first time that we were ever taken seriously by a big
Corporation.
Corporation. We pulled up to these offices, super corporate. Where in New York were the offices? I forgot.
On Orchard Street, and really like literally around the corner from my school. Cause shout out NYU for having the best location in New York City, actually hooking students up with like all these opportunities.
So it was awesome for me. I flew from a little town in Indiana straight into to these beautiful offices, pulling up with a duffel bag and
Filled with clothing.
That
Leftovers from the summer drop.
we got a really good impression on them, and they really liked our designs, and they were immediately interested in working with us. So that was really, really awesome opportunity for us. And
I mean, it was really, really good. But honestly, I wish that we would have had more like input during the
Oversight.
production, because there was this, like with every good thing, it can't come like, effortlessly or with everything running smoothly, because that doesn't happen in real life. So it happened to be that during the day of the shoot, it was my little brother's bar mitzvah. So I had to be home, like, no, I had no choice. And Bernie had finals or a midterm that same day in Indiana. So all the pre-production we were involved in, but the actual day of shooting, none of us could be at the shoot. So sadly,
we had to really trust
Carlos and yeah,
express to him exactly how we wanted to incorporate the clothing into the video, and we even Bogo had to make like this like prop, which was like a
the
pillowcase
pillowcase.
with our logo on it, because the whole storyline of the video was basically that Taliban's, this rapper, was getting kidnapped by like Stop Lookin thugs or something. So they used like a Stop Lookin pillowcase to kidnap Tally. And the video starts off with them pulling that pillowcase off his head. Kind of like one of those superhero movies or something. So it was like an ode to one of those.
And that was our first music video. And to say the least, we've gotten involved in a couple other music video productions that right now aren't out for some reasons we can't talk about. But shout out Morgan Ellison.
Shout out Morgan. We got a really great video with him on the way.
Hopefully that'll come out soon.
It's actually a song that I produced with him back in Indiana, and I really can't wait to get this music video out to everybody, because we worked extremely hard on it, and it was very well thought out, and it was a whole vision that came to life, and I can't wait to put that out for you guys and to the world. So That'll be coming soon.
If Joe will answer my phone calls. Cheers, though.
So I want to talk a little bit about this month's drop, you know, because we did talk about last month's, or, you know,
Yeah.
next month's drop, basically.
Yeah.
Right now it's April, 23rd, and we already dropped our drop for April, and we have some really exciting things coming for May. I do want to talk a little bit about what we got coming in May, because I'm really excited for this drop. We're going to be dropping some stuff for the summer. So, you know, it's super hot now in Miami, so we're done with the hoodies for a little bit, we're done with the long sleeves for a little bit, and we're going into the, you know, the comfortable, the cool short sleeve tees. We actually made this shirt last summer. This is a Chicago tee, which came out exclusively for the Lyrical Lemonade Summer Smash festival that we went to as vendors. So basically it's just Chicago, and it says Summer 2019. Shout out to everybody that bought the shirt. We made 100 of them and sold out entirely. So shout out to everybody who has the Chicago tee. We still get asked till this day if we still have the Chicago tee available, and unfortunately we don't, and we don't make anything twice. So going back to my point, we're making this new t-shirt for the May drop, which is going to be a Miami tee. Instead of saying Chicago and that, it's going to say Miami, and then on the back it's going to have a really awesome print also, just like this one does. I'll show this one.
You all guys could check that out on our website or on our Instagram.
We'll be announcing that 1st of May. Make
And
sure you
yeah,
got your hands
talking
on
about
it,
the
'cause we're
Chicago-
only making like 50 total shirts. We're also gonna make some new hats. Next episode we're gonna be talking about how we were able to get into Cole Bennett's Festival Lyrical Lemonade Summer Smash 2019, and our experience with that, and how great it was for our brand and everyone. It was a great weekend in Chicago. I can't wait to talk about that. We got to meet some really exciting people.
All right, don't spoil the whole podcast.
I get carried away. You see, I get carried away.
All right,
So-
guys. So
Thank you guys all for watching this week's podcast. We hope you really enjoyed what we had to say, and hopefully you learned something from our stories.
like and comment what you learned.
So make sure you subscribe also to this YouTube channel so that you get the notification every time we drop something new, and you can stay up to date and not be a slacker.